Hi everyone, we're just going to be starting in 1 minute. We'll give some other people time to jump on and we'll kick off at 10:01. All right, let's get started. Thanks for joining us today for this webinar where we will share some learnings on how to win and increase customer lifetime value. I'm Virginia Gordon, the Alliance and Growth Manager at StoreConnect, and I'm your host. So today we'd love your questions, and I'd just like to direct you to the Q&A section. So there's the chat button and then there's the Q&A one. If you could pop any questions you have into the Q&A and we'll answer those at the end. We have 3 great speakers joining us today, and I'll just introduce you to them briefly. So we have Chris Horn, Regional Vice President of ISV Sales at Salesforce. Chris leads the Salesforce App Exchange business for APAC. A commercially astute, technology-savvy business leader with 17 years of experience across a range of marketing, product sales, channel, and general management roles. Thanks for being here, Chris. Michael Linzer, CEO and founder of StoreConnect. Michael has a passion to bring e-commerce 3.0 to the market and help small to medium businesses everywhere achieve their expansion goals. And finally, Alex Colvin, CEO and founder of Pendula. As CEO, Alex creates and manages both the vision and mission of the business. Alex believes that Pendula is primed to be a benchmark platform, and the business's focus on customer retention has been transformative for many of the company's clients. So without any further ado, we'll kick off, and I will hand over to Chris Horn to kick off today's webinar. Welcome, Chris.
All right, thanks, Virginia. And thanks for pumping up my tires with that very generous introduction. Much appreciated. I had just a couple of really brief comments, before Virginia, Alex, and Michael dig into some really great content for you all. And first off, just wanted to give a bit of context to the App Exchange partner program that StoreConnect and Pendula are a really key part of. So I expect probably many on the call are aware that the Salesforce App Exchange, look, it's basically the world's biggest B2B app store. And I think sometimes the best comparison is with your iPhone. So I think we all know the iPhone itself is great technology, but of course it's really the app store and the apps on there that really bring the magic to your iPhone. And it's exactly the same with the App Exchange. So Salesforce customers, of course, do a lot with our products directly, but they really come to the App Exchange to find solutions which can further extend on Salesforce with really specific and very exciting capabilities. So I think it's great that we've got 2 very aligned partners like StoreConnect and Pendula collaborating. As for you as the customer or potential customer, you can utilize apps that are built ultimately on the same platform, that have all the security credentials of Salesforce. They integrate fantastically well. And of course, there's then thousands of other apps you can also access to build out your own ecosystem for your business. So that's a quick bit of context there on the App Exchange. Secondly, I just want to say that the theme of today's webinar is a topic that we are very passionate about at Salesforce, of course, given our focus on customer success. And we actually see some really interesting data points around retention and customer lifetime value in some of the studies and research that we've done. And just to share 1 or 2 of those, for example, the likelihood of a brand new lead converting to a customer, plenty of hard work, is usually 5 to 20%, whereas the likelihood of an existing customer converting into a repeat customer is more like 60 to 70%. And of course, there's a range of significant cost benefits that come with that as well. So I think it's a really important theme that the teams are focusing on today. And finally, I just want to say that we're seeing Pendula and StoreConnect do amazing things in the Salesforce ecosystem. We hear great feedback from their customers. They're fantastic partners. So I feel we'll have some great expertise to share with you in the session today as well. So looking forward to that. So that's all from me. I'll hand back to you, Virginia, to move us into the next section.
Great. And now I would like to introduce Michael Linzer, who is going to share some information about StoreConnect.
Great. Thank you very much, Virginia. And thank you, Chris, for that introduction. Definitely working with Salesforce and building StoreConnect on top of Salesforce has created a situation where we can partner with other ISVs in the marketplace to really generate a 1 + 1 = 3 type solution. The ability for us to integrate with these other platforms and services directly via Salesforce without any complex API integrations and constant things that you need to monitor and maintain and keep up to date really leverages the ability of our clients to help their customers. And at the end of the day, that's really what we're all trying to do. Obviously, we're in business. We are trying to sell something, but the reason that we're all trying to sell something is we want to give something to our customers that's of value. They're going to exchange money back to us or support in some way to then everyone wins, right? You don't want a situation, and no one's in business for not having that reason. You know, we want to help our customers. We want to help everyone grow and expand. And really, StoreConnect came out of this idea about 5 years ago. We were looking at the marketplace and we were in this situation of really e-commerce 2.0 and the very complex mess of what is the existing scene of 2.0. So next slide. The existing scene, if you look at what commerce 2.0 is right now, and when I say 2.0, I mean, there's basically 3 versions of e-commerce at the moment. So e-commerce 1 was everyone just proving we could get online. That was Amazon and eBay and all those sorts of things starting. And then e-commerce 2 is where we've been for the last 20 odd years, 15 years. And an explosion of tooling has come out of that, which has been great in terms of getting a lot of people online and a lot of people active and everyone being able to sell a t-shirt and do what they need to do. But it comes at a cost where a lot of your time as a business owner or a partner who helps businesses do this sort of thing, a lot of your time is spent convincing computers that they should talk to other computers. And that's not a valuable use of a person's time. You know, we spoke to one customer who was spending $10,000 a month on Zapier, just trying to keep all their systems talking to each other in a complex mix. So this situation that we find ourselves in right now needs to change. There needs to be a bit of a unifying structure around how do we communicate between all of our systems and how does a customer come in at one point on this map and exit at another point on this map in a seamless manner with a single source of truth and an ability for you as a business owner to be able to help that customer through that journey. I know that everyone on this call would have experienced a situation, and I mean, Alex, you probably have too, where you've got you call a call center and you're talking to someone there and they don't know that you just bought something, or they can't find your record, or they don't know that you just spent an hour and a half on the phone with another support agent because the systems weren't talking to each other. You know, they're not looking in the right system. You're speaking to the support desk or in the support system and the call center in the call center system, and nothing's integrated. So that's a real challenge. How do we fix this? Well, what we do is we move into the next phase of e-commerce, and that's e-commerce 3.0. And that is a greatly simplified structure. And if we go to the next slide, e-commerce 3.0 is all about unifying that data into one platform. Well, there's two key points on e-commerce 3.0, unifying it all into one platform and that you own your own data. So as a business owner, as the marketing manager, as the person in charge of sales, as a partner who is helping a company achieve those things, e-commerce 3.0 gives you that capability of just having everything in one platform, all of that truth in one point, where you can go in and look at a customer and you can understand that they've bought these 5 products, that they're on this subscription, that they've had 3 support cases in the last 2 months. Or maybe you're looking at some of the positives, like this customer has now spent more than $5,000 with you in the last year, and that should put them on a higher status level with your organization, or any other combination of these things. You really want a system that ingests all this data and has it in one spot. And that's what StoreConnect plus Salesforce lets you do. It allows you to pull in that information into one location and just view it as what it is. So before I go into how we can work that with Pendula, I just want to give you a bit of a brief understanding on what StoreConnect itself is so that you can see how we supply eCommerce 3.0 on top of Salesforce. So let's go into the next slide where we talk about the one system. So StoreConnect is a complete e-commerce content management point of sale system, supports multiple storefronts, shipping and inventory, subscription management, appointments and bookings, and multiple currencies. And all of that is contained in and on the Salesforce platform. So when you're running your StoreConnect environment, you only have to log into Salesforce. And then within Salesforce, you've got everything you need to make it happen. And with Pendula plug right into that as well. So not only are you able to handle your e-commerce environment, but you can run your website, you can run multiple storefronts, you can run your point of sale, forward-looking statement, the point of sale is coming within this year, but it will be a free upgrade for all customers. But all of that can be managed from that one environment. And when I mean managed, I mean that you don't then have to go and buy a Shopify store or a WordPress site or Magento. You can turn all of that off. And all you end up with is just one screen to manage your whole business. And this is one of the reasons why StoreConnect and Pendula have actually gotten together on this journey. Alex, I mean, with Pendula viewpoint on being able to manage all this data, you guys actually, I think, reached out to us initially talking about how this could actually benefit some of your customers because you were running into the problem of that multi-API issue. Was that something that you guys were doing?
Absolutely, Mike. And the key thing here is, we look at these webinars and what we're trying to share with everyone. First up, Salesforce backing this and really priming us not only as a business but also getting our word out. We're seeing this environment now where there's these excellent solutions that are coming out that are solving real world problems. This isn't a problem that's existed in the past. This is things that are coming up as the world is evolving. We saw StoreConnect as something that was really primed to really disrupt the retail industry, and particularly addressing some of the key challenges that people in the retail world have just gotten used to. And we're hearing stories that from some of the clients that StoreConnect has and that Pendula has, where people have just become so accustomed to incredibly slow changes to storefronts on the web, to very inherently manual and disconnected inventory management and fulfillment processes. This isn't even getting to the layer of how you can then take what you've built and all the IP that you've established from understanding all the interactions with your customers and then actually leveraging it to do something better. But before we even get to that, just the challenge of running the business in an efficient and effective manner, that's what StoreConnect has just nailed from day dot here. And Mike, if we think about what's the main prime that we're looking to solve here, we're not making outlandish claims like we're trying to change the world and make it a better place. We're just taking away some of those really basic pains that in an individual silo basis really don't account for a lot. But when you scale it across a massive business that has multiple e-commerce platforms and multiple geographies, product lines, whatever it would be, it becomes a huge cost to a business. Being able to then leverage technology to make that better, you're priming yourself for a lot of success. And honestly, with very minimal investment, you're effectively gaining a competitive edge over your competitors in a fairly flooded ecosystem.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, that is a key point what you mentioned before. StoreConnect on top of Salesforce isn't a 35% or 30% better platform than Shopify, just from a single shop point of view, right? It's not like we've reinvented e-commerce. That's really not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is allow you as a customer, when you spend time on your e-commerce, you can do it once. You don't have to do it in Shopify, and then in WordPress, and then in support system, and then in marketing system, and then on all these other platforms, and try and pull it all together. We're focused on our customers' time, right? And if we can improve the amount of time or reduce the amount of time that our customers spend managing their e-commerce environments, and some of our customers have incredibly complex e-commerce environments. I'm actually going to show one in just a minute, one of our favorite. But if we can reduce the amount of time that they need to spend on managing all of this, then they can retarget their focus on how do we generate more of it. You know, we had one customer we were speaking to just last week or the week before, that just signed up. And she was in a situation where she was spending almost all of her day just trying to keep the pricing up to date across her point of sale website and internal sales system. They had 25,000 SKUs and it kept changing, and different discounts for different customers. And her basic full-time job was just trying to keep the pricing up to date. And she couldn't even get to that because it was just too complex. And when we showed her how she could use StoreConnect to do it in one spot within Salesforce, and then everything's just up to date, she almost fell off her chair. You know, it is this assumed, well, we're going to have to spend all this time making the computers do what we want, as opposed to getting the computers to do what we want, you know, from a fundamental point of view. So let me show you this idea of a single customer view. And this is one of our favorite clients. He's actually was on the call. So he just dropped off. Oh, no, there he is. So with Playbill, if we go to the next slide, Playbill actually have a case study on our website, but they do merchandising across lots and lots of different brands. And if you've been to Hamilton or Harry Potter or Frozen or Moulin Rouge or Six on Broadway or Mary Poppins, that's happening down at the State Theatre right now, and you purchase something from the event, Playbill are the merchandisers of that. They supply that merchandise. And what StoreConnect's provided for them is they have these multiple storefronts. And you can see the case study on our website. If you do want it, contact us, we'll send you the link. But they have all these different websites, but they can get a single view of the customer. So they, as a merchandiser, can understand that this person who's writing in a complaint for some reason on Hamilton, where they might have received the wrong item, or it's late, or there's a shipping delay due to COVID, or whatever's happening, right? The customer support person can see that actually this customer has bought something from every musical in the last 9 months. Like, they're a key customer for us. Let's not lose them. They're creating lots of revenue for us and helping us and working with us and really being part of our journey as a business. And they can provide the appropriate levels of support to that customer and really say, hey, thanks for being a long-term customer. Really appreciate it. Look, we've handled it. This is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And from a customer point of view, they get the validation that they know that the support team know that they are an important customer. You know, sometimes as a customer, you don't necessarily expect or want, you know, crazy freebies or whatever. You just want to be acknowledged that you spend a lot of time and your resources and your hard-earned dollars with this company, and give me some acknowledgement around that. And that, for example, is a moment of truth, right? So you've got these points, and Alex is going to talk about moments of truth with Pendula and how that can hook together. But this point of a support call, well, that's a bit of data, and you can act on that. If a customer's called in with a complaint, it's probably not the best time to send them a 10% offer for a new promotion campaign, right? So you want to be able to time these things and coordinate these things with moments of truth. And that's where Pendula comes into it. And that's how we can use things like Pendula with our single customer view. Next slide. So as Alex pointed out, it is all about time well spent. We want our customers to be the person pushing the ball, not trying to put their full effort into moving that big square of systems along. We really are after making sure that our customers can just get in there, get what they need, get it done, produce the reports they need, have all that data in one spot. And, you know, we're working and constantly improving the platform, and we'd love to get your feedback and examples. But we figure that if we can make a system that allows you as a customer to spend your time well, you're going to then be able to have a lot more time to expand your business and grow, as opposed to sitting up at 5 a.m. wondering why one of your APIs is not talking to another one of your APIs. So next slide. I think the key thing before I hand over to Alex here is StoreConnect is about creating one source of truth, and it does that by being on top of the Salesforce platform. So the Salesforce platform allows you to do all of your inside sales, your online StoreConnect sales via the StoreConnect website, plus very soon your point of sale, retail sales, all within that one platform, and have that single source of truth of every customer. So when someone eventually buys something from your website, then calls up your sales team to ask about that purchase, and your sales team realize that they're a high value customer and convert them into a business account, they can then sign back into your StoreConnect website and have their own business pricing, which has been approved through a workflow in Salesforce where the manager has approved that this person gets this level of discount. That's all then available within Salesforce, so there's no confusion about what price that person's paying. When that person walks into your retail store and the agent pulls up their name on their point of sale terminal, they can see that same pricing for that customer at their discount pricing, or maybe it's different discount pricing for the retail store. But on top of all of that, every interaction that comes into Salesforce from that customer, be it a store sale, be it an online phone call sale with a sales rep, be it a website purchase, all of that data is funneling back into Salesforce and creating a single source of truth, which then leads us to moments of truth. And to explain what moments of truth are, I'll hand over to Alex and we'll go through his slides.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michael. Very much appreciated. And again, thanks for all the audience for joining today. Let's just take a step back here and let's just kind of visualize where we're all at on this journey. Now, appreciating that some of us may be in the process of considering to use Salesforce and or StoreConnect as their e-commerce platform. But it's a broad assumption here that everyone here today in some way or form is already using some kind of e-commerce platform. Now, let's find ourselves in a state of nirvana here where we've figured out all of our sources of truth. Right? We've got all of our data in one place, and now we know what's happening. And this is a really powerful place to be. Now, of course, we need to maintain it and we need to ensure that the systems can stay on track. But really what we've then done as a business, as an e-commerce retailer, we've found ourselves in a situation where we have been able to consolidate our view of the world to make effectively data-informed decisions to affect things within our customer life cycle. Right now, if we look at today, and Rob, if we just go to the next slide there, if we really think about what a moment of truth is, a moment of truth is something that you only will ever know about if you have all of the information that backs it up. So StoreConnect gives us that information. Now that we have that, we find ourselves in a very unique situation. And that is where we can engage with customers to affect one ultimate goal here, and that is to increase the revenue and overall profitability of our businesses. Now, we are going to talk about this later today, and that's specifically around one ratio that is important across every single industry. It doesn't matter if you are an e-commerce retailer, if you're a telecommunications provider, if you're an energy utility, if you're a bank, it doesn't matter. All the same goals that you're driving lead to one ratio. That is by far the best measure of business performance, and that is customer lifetime value. Right now, if we think about that in its broader sense, what are we really trying to do here? We're trying to increase the value of our customers. Now, simply put, how do you increase the value of our customers? And this isn't going to be new to anyone here. It's all about value realization. So, great example of an ancillary ecosystem business that's using similar tools such as Pendula, telcos like a Mason. Now, great thing that they view. How do they increase their customer lifetime value? It's put really simply, they wait until the right moment, really a moment of truth here, and they engage with their customers in the channels that matter, things like SMS, things like email, things like push notifications, WhatsApp. It doesn't really matter wherever the customer is, and they offer them things. So I've just bought a product and I've started using it. And the next thing that I realize is, well, I've had a really great experience. Now, how does that telco double down? Well, they basically make an offer, and you'll see this. They'll say, next month we're going to give you 1 GB free. Now, in order to ensure that customer sticks around and spends more, that telco was offering them something to provide a positive experience, and then they're going to reinforce it. They're never going to let them forget. And this is what I want everyone here to take away from today. So if we look at this new customer experience and how we build upon this, I'll just go to the next slide there. What we're really changing is our view and how people are interacting with ourselves. This isn't about just the e-commerce website. This is about all the digital communications, every point of touch that happens, from a call center to an email to the portals that they're engaging us with, to their text messages, whatever it would be. And it comes down to one key thing. And this is all those moments of truth. And we just go to that next slide there, Ron, which is every single opportunity that we now know, because we have all of our data in this source of truth, for us to exploit these. So when someone purchases a product, what do we want to do there? Well, they've probably had a really good experience. They've probably seen the value in the product, and it is the perfect opportunity to go and engage with them and ask them, would they like to buy a cross-sell or an upsell product that sits on that? So let's use a real life example here. I've just gone to the Hamilton play. I believe it's down in Melbourne now. I've gone on to Playbill's website for the Hamilton e-commerce store, and I've purchased myself a mug. Now, I've just gone and clicked the bill, and I've gone just before it's been dispatched, and I've received a text message, and it's saying, let's just pretend I'm Mike. I'm a big fan of Hamilton here, and that text message is then asking me, Michael, we had a great time with you at the show. We see you've just bought a little bit of merchandise from us. Would you also like to add the CD, or the CD is very old school now. Let's call it the digital. There's probably an NFT or something like that could be associated to this, and it could be done via a communication that's sitting on a phone via a text message or a WhatsApp, whatever it would be. Now, what are we doing there? We're doing something that's unique. We've left the website. We've now gone into a conversation that's sitting on a text message. And then ultimately, if that person's accepted, we've then added that to the bill and then pushed it through. So we've seen that opportunity. There's a moment of truth that we can go and add on an upsell in some way or form. And these exist throughout your customer life cycle. This could be from when the item is about to be delivered, to once it's been received, to a cart abandonment, to a Google review that's been received, to a problem with the product and a warranty claim, whatever it would be. All of these things combine to create an opportunity at every single point in your customer life cycle to add this on.
Alex, I think there's an interesting point on that, which might be underappreciated, is one of the challenges that a lot of people have when they look at a slide like this, in my experience, in talking to a lot of customers around StoreConnect. I mean, I've done, I don't know, many hundreds of demos on StoreConnect. And one of the things that keeps coming up is, yeah, but how does that data get in there in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. It's all well and good to say, I'm going to send an email off or a SMS or a WhatsApp off to someone when an order comes in, but how do I get my Shopify store to get that data into our Salesforce org so that it can then get the data to Pendula, so that Pendula can then send the thing, and then when they purchase it, how does that even come back? And how does it update Shopify after we update the order in Salesforce? And how does that two-way synchronization happen? And what if they go and update something else in the meantime on their order in Shopify? Are we going to overwrite that? Like, how is that all going to work? And this is where the whole idea of StoreConnect, Pendula, and Salesforce all being that one platform really comes into its own, because you as a customer then only need to integrate into Salesforce. So if there's a Google review, do a webhook that notifies Salesforce, single source of truth. The order that comes in is already in Salesforce because it's on StoreConnect. If you edit that order, when the customer signs in to look at their order page, it will be done. Like, it's the same object. Absolutely. So all of this really builds into it.
You know, the key thing here is, you know, this is going to be an ever evolving activity within your business, right? Will you have every single moment of truth, every single opportunity documented and that data collected from day dot? You may not. Now, there's so many data sources that this can come from. The great thing though, when you have a platform right now, from day one, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you might only have all of your ordering and stock management and your fulfillment. That's through that. You haven't yet added in your case management or your call center operations. But the excellent thing here is the second we add in some more information, I've just lost the video feed there. I'm just trying to get that back there. The second we add in the ability for us to see that new information, we can then act upon that. Now, the key thing here is if we look at each one of these moments of truth, all of these are going to be defined by you. And this is where a tool like Pendula allows you to do it, right? This gives you the ability for us to be able to communicate in a way where you are defining these journeys, you're defining each one of these interaction points and building the interactions yourself and backing that up with workflow. Now, obviously, the devil's in the detail here. How do you actually do that? We're not actually going to do any demos today. And the reason for that is we didn't want to kind of show product. We wanted to talk about the high-level concepts. So conceptually here, if I just play this back to everyone, we found ourselves in a situation where we have all of our data in one place. And now we have the ability to exploit all those operations that exist within that. And ultimately, what's this going to affect? And this is really the key thing here. And, you know, Mike, it doesn't matter what business we're in, right? It all comes down to this one ratio, your customer lifetime value. Chris said it before as well. We've spent all this time acquiring these customers. We've advertised on social media. We've advertised out of home. It doesn't, you know, all this huge cost has gone through to find this customer. And now we have them. This is the opportunity. And if we just go to the next slide there, this is where we start talking about customer lifetime value. Really simple ratio. Everyone will know this one. Pretty simply, it's our average customer revenue divided by our average customer lifetime. Right? Put really simply, how do we make this better? Well, the easiest way to do it is to raise your prices. Now, there's a problem with that. If we raise our prices too much, the elasticity will begin to diminish fairly quickly, and we may lose a bunch of customers. And this will be a constant battle that everyone in the room here will be talking about constantly, which is how do we affect our pricing models? Can we bring in new commercial models to establish things like subscription models, all of that stuff? But ultimately, pricing is going to be your own domain. And StoreConnect is going to enable that to change quickly for you to be able to find ways to experiment, to try offers, whatever it would be. Now, on top of that, what can we do? Well, at the very top there, really simply, you know, let's try and keep our customers spending for as long as possible. So this is constantly about updating your product catalogs, changing that. And again, StoreConnect's really enabling the agile approach to constantly evolving. If we see customers seeking new products, Mike, how easy is it to go and add a new product there? I'm assuming we can do this in minutes, right? And it's already on the website.
No, that's right. And not only can you do it in minutes, it's done both internally and externally, and all the pricing's up to date and consistent across all platforms. I think there's another interesting thing about keeping customers spending for as long as possible. We were doing some research, you know, as you do, because we have to increase our customer lifetime value as well. And one of the datums that we found while we were researching was that increasing customer retention by 5% can boost your revenues by up to 25%. And when you think about that, at first glance, it looks a bit maybe incorrect. But when you look at it the other way, the marketing spend you need for existing customers is usually a lot less than what you need for an existing, like a brand new customer. So these sorts of things, that customer is much more used to buying from you, can purchase from you, and doing these upsells and that sort of thing is where you're really generating more revenue and profits out of your existing customers.
Really interesting, you know, view on all these little gems that sit through there. And if we talk about all those moments of truth, you know, these are all opportunities for us to upsell and cross-sell our products. Right now, one little gem that we've learned from the telco and utility world, which is completely transferable, and it does work within the retail world. And this is the concept of asking for feedback and then providing an offer. Now, if you do that, if let's use an example here, let's just say, again, Mike's gone to the Hamilton concert down in Melbourne. He's gone and purchased his, you know, t-shirt, whatever it would be, and as a result on that, it's been shipped. We could then text him and say, you know, how was the show? We're so excited that we're sending you this t-shirt. Is there anything else that, you know, that you'd like to see? You know, are you looking for a new mug? Are you looking for, an offer potentially to go and see Frozen, whatever it would be, and, cross-selling to another event. Now, in that circumstance, if you ask like that non-threatening question, and you don't just offer him something, you ask him, how was it? How, are you looking forward to receiving your product? And then based on his response, you then offer him something. Your conversion rate's going to go from about 9% on these, customer upsells, which is already pretty good, up to about 22%. Now that impact's significant, right? We're talking, revenue uplifts on your CLT ratios of anywhere from 3 to 5%. And this is a gimme, right? All you got to do is ask someone a question, and your revenue goes up 5%. Sign me up. How do I do that? It's a really simple concept. Now, the interesting thing is, back in the retail world, this is what our shop assistants were doing. Right? If I walked into a clothes store, people are saying, hey, those pants look great on you. Have you got a belt? That's the question that we're priming people with, and we're trying to understand this information. And that can be a little bit lost, right? Michael, we look at the e-commerce push. It was such a technical shift to enable that. We lost some of those soft skills.
Yeah, and a lot of the current scene, people are very transactional on their e-commerce environment. They've already researched the product that they're buying online, and they're just coming in and they just want that transaction. Now, that's all well and good, but if you stand out from the crowd as a e-commerce provider or a retail provider, or in any business that really you're doing, and you take that extra step of, hey, thanks for shopping with us, we really appreciate it. By the way, do you want this one, or do you want that, or here's a link for a friend if you want someone else to buy it. If you stand out and try and generate some of that personalization, it's really noticed. And I think one of the interesting things about this is, one lazy way to do this, which it's not, lazy is the wrong word, right? One way to do this personalization is mass emails, mass marketing on, hey, you're a customer, here's 20% off this new product, thank you very much, right?
It's not targeted though, right?
It's not targeted, it's just broad.
Showing them something.
And people are being forced into this because, again, this problem of all these APIs and all these systems, they just don't have these moments of truth. If you can flick that around by using something like Pendula, where they've made their third purchase in 5 months, come up with some thing like that, and then send them a message saying, hey, thanks very much for being one of the customers that's done blah, 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 or they've spent more than $1,000 in a 3-month window, or whatever it is. Maybe they've bought 4 out of the 5 things in a product set, and send them a message saying, hey, we've noticed you've bought 4 out of these 5 possible toys. Do you want to complete the set? Here's 10% off. There's a whole heap of things that you can drive around this, where if you've got that knowledge, you can actually target moments of truth with the source of truth that's in Salesforce and StoreConnect.
But it's not to be diluted though, right? Mike, if we look at the feedback loops, I always love to use the analogy of, trying to just use data in isolation without the actual feedback loops.
Yeah, right.
A lot of us have kids here, right? If you sat in the corner of your room and you looked at your children and you said, what are they thinking? Do they want, what do they want to do? Why are they upset? Whatever it would be. And you just looked at their behavior and tried to figure it out, you'd never get the answer. Whereas if you went and asked them, you said, son or daughter, what's bothering you? They'll tell you straight away.
Yes.
And you could have spent, hours trying to analyze that problem. Now, this is the secret sauce. And it's something that everyone used to do when we were face to face. Now that we're in the digital world, we don't seem to do it anymore. If we ask our people for feedback, what do you want? How can we help you? And ultimately, how we're normally helping them probably drives more revenue for us, gives us better formed data. We then blend that into all these customer data points that we have within StoreConnect and Salesforce, and then ultimately make better offers. So what's that going to lead us to? Well, it's going to lead us to a greater average customer revenue, right? So happy days. We've increased our average customer revenue. Now, what about our customer lifetime value, right? So we still need to worry about average customer lifetime here. So we look at that. How do we affect that? And we just go to the next slide there. Really customer lifetime average view is on 2 things. Well, one, it's to stop people from churning. Now, churning is an interesting thing in the retail world, right? What churn actually is, it's not someone leaving you, because it's more or less transactional, how we're buying things. It's someone going to your competitor. Right? This is someone who is now no longer buying their t-shirts from you. They're buying them from someone else's e-commerce store. So how do we do that? Really simply, it's value realization. Never forget that we gave them a discount. Don't let them ever forget. Don't let them ever forget that when we sent them their t-shirt, that it arrived on time. Don't let them ever forget that when they had a problem, that we fixed it and we gave them something to make them feel better about themselves. Those little things translate into really a raft of other metrics that's going to result in lower cost of acquisitions, higher repeat purchases, and ultimately you're going to have customers for longer, spending more in a repeatable manner. And that's really the second side of it here, which is creating an ongoing commercial relationship. And this is where powerful tools like StoreConnect give you the product catalog flexibility to go and create multiple upsell products, multiple cross-sell products, link them. You've just bought, as Michael just said, you've bought 4 out of the 5 set. Let's know that they're a set. Let's make sure that there's an ongoing relationship. Make sure that there's the next purchase in that product, that journey that sits through there. And ultimately, what are we doing here? And we're going to pause here and we're going to go to Q&As. I'm sure there's plenty of questions that have come through this. But ultimately, what we've done here is we've built all of our data in one place. We've created feedback loops, and we've targeted all of our consumers and customers at points in the journey that are positive to promote them. And whenever they're negative, we're going to effectively negate them. If we can do all that, what are we going to do? We're going to affect our bottom line by effectively increasing our customer lifetime value ratio. And everyone here is going to be looking at this and saying, if I can increase my customer lifetime value, I'm going to be seen as successful within my role or within my business. So with all of that, and we've spoken a lot, maybe we just hand back to Virginia here. I'm sure we've got a few questions that have come through on the Q&A and chat as we've gone through that. If you haven't yet raised a question on that, please throw them through. We did have a few people send through a few questions prior to the session. Guys, Virginia, maybe we just hand over you for just a quick run through of an offer we have today, and then we can just do the Q&A, give people an opportunity to go and ask some questions there.
Fantastic. So if we can go to the next slide with our offer. So now we're going to show you a live example of Pendula and StoreConnect working together. So on your screen is a QR code, and there's also a promo code, demo merch. So if you click on that QR code, it's going to take you through to the StoreConnect website, and where you can get some free merch. It's a vacuum water bottle. Now you enter the code. So do your QR code, takes you to the StoreConnect page. Use that promo code to get 100% discount on the water bottle. And while you're filling out...
We're not going to charge you for the water bottle.
That's right, yeah. That's why we've got the promo code.
That's right.
Enter in your details. We ship that water bottle out to you. And then after your order processes, watch out for the upsell SMS that's going to come into your phone, offering you an upsell product, which will be a free t-shirt. So you can see that process of buying something and then getting that SMS follow-up with the upsell. And the SMS is driven by Pendula, and that's going to show you that experience of StoreConnect and Pendula working together. So while you're doing that, I'll just say some of the questions that have come in, and we'll get those answered, and that will give you that time to go through that QR process. So I will put forward the first question. So how does customer lifetime value work in the not-for-profit side? That's our first question.
Well, Alex is on mute, so I'll dive in.
Michael, you want to talk through the
totally.
the donor process and being able to sell things to help those in need?
Yeah, totally. So StoreConnect actually works very well with not-for-profit, and we actually work quite closely with Salesforce.org and their not-for-profit success pack, and ensure that our product works with that platform, and it works very well. And one of the benefits that you get out of StoreConnect on top of that is we can take one-off donations, we can take merchandise sales for the not-for-profit, but we can also manage and maintain all the subscriptions, so monthly or recurring giving and that sort of solution. So where this comes in is obviously if you have someone who is donating to your cause, they're way more likely to donate again in the future than trying to find a brand new person. And one of the challenges that not-for-profits have is massive challenges, time. They generally are under-resourced to provide the same services that a for-profit company would be providing. So utilizing these sorts of tooling and being able to use something like Pendula to notify them, to tell them about some event that's coming up and offer them the ability to go and put $10 down on the campaign or the pledge, or have those moments of truth where maybe they donated to some cause and there's some good news around that. Good, let's engage them via Pendula and get that communication happening.
It's all that
I think
value
would be very powerful.
Right, Michael? You see that. A great example, a few customers of ours, such as Cancer Council, their major donation activities are on a small number of days per year, right? We have challenges that exist within that, and that you're driving 80% of your donation revenue on one day of the year. But the problem is, how do you reinforce that value throughout that? Because we'll all be charitable. We'll dip into our pocket and pull out that donation, on one day, and then you won't do it for another 364 days. How do we get that value realization? Right? It's all about that engagement, but you've also got to know the customer. When did they donate? How did they do it? What did they care about? Was there an event that happened at that point in time? Was there something in the news? What could we correlate to their value? And then how do we then reinforce it and not let them forget that their generous donation then resulted in something that was, valued and gave them the emotional response that they were seeking through that.
Yeah, we've got some orders coming in, which is great. So be sure to click that code and fill out the text and put your demo merch thing at the top as a promo code. If you did click next on your shipping information and forgot to put the promo code in, you can actually scroll down later and put that promo code in if you've been presented with a credit card form. If you want to pay us for the drink bottle, that's totally fine. But honestly, you don't have to. It's completely okay. So Virginia, was there
yep, and then there's another question here. What is the setup like?
So there's two broad functions, and I'll let Alex talk to the Pendula side. But fundamentally, first you get StoreConnect installed. We have a 13-minute video you can watch that's the basics of getting StoreConnect set up in an afternoon in your Salesforce org. Obviously, there's a lot more work in terms of producing a full e-commerce environment, but almost all of that is data entry and configuration of data. So it's quite straightforward. Some of our clients, in fact, one of our clients has built a test store from his iPhone on the way home from a dinner. Obviously, his wife was driving, but there you go. It is possible. Once you've got all that set up, you then work with Pendula. And Alex, how would you go about doing that? Because I think the question is more about how would you go about identifying those moments of truth, and then how does that actually get set up in Pendula? What do you do there?
It's a really good question, and the days of long implementations are just done. Right? It's all about configuration. This is all declarative. The concept of system integrations and complex IT work are over. And if you're finding yourself looking at solutions that need that, you're probably looking at the wrong solution. So put aside the technical challenges, it's plug and play, right? How do you make StoreConnect, Salesforce, and Pendula work together? We log in and you're done. So your system's now integrated. Now the question is, well, great, I've got all this capability. What do I actually do with it? And how do I identify these things? Now, the first thing we do is we help you with kind of pre-baked templates. So we have libraries of hundreds of what we call flows, which are basically customer experiences targeting each one of these moments of truth. But ultimately, you're going to be able to create your own. There's going to be the low-hanging fruit. It's always the 80-20 rule, right? You set up 3 or 4 of these campaigns on upselling and cross-selling your customers, getting those feedback loops through, and you'll see the significant amount of impact very quickly. Tweaking and iterating over time becomes just a normal part of the job, just like you manage your e-commerce website, you manage your customer experience. And again, as Michael said, we're talking here hours and days, not weeks and months to get these things stood up. So time to value is very rapid, and actually gives you the ability to experiment and trial, new campaigns and new activities very, very easily.
And then the flow, like the actual setup within Pendula, it's a visual flow. You can see the
all built by a business user. You don't need a degree in software engineering or even be an IT specialist to make this work. We have plenty of very limited technology experienced users using the platform with no problems at all.
Awesome. We've got another couple of orders coming through, which is good. So keep those orders coming. Actually, that's an interesting thing. So I'm actually looking at my Salesforce org right now and seeing these orders come in real time and then getting passed off on over to Pendula. So this is an example of how StoreConnect works, right? You've got this real-time communication coming in. I'm able to see the orders land. I can see their status being changed as our sales team are marking them as received and fulfilled. And that's kicking off Pendula communications, which are then contacting those people and sending them SMSs. And all of this data is available to me within Salesforce. It's quite good to see, actually. I'm quite enjoying it. Was there another question, Virginia?
Actually, there was, but you both have answered it in your last.
Oh no!
What you just said. That's it, and we're over time, so we will wrap up. So if you can just go to the next slide. This is so thank you very much to Chris, Michael, and Alex. That was great. And I'm a consumer and I love getting SMSs from companies, like absolutely love it.
That's awesome.
Just on the screen, there is some ways to contact us, and we will just leave that up on the screen just so that you can make note of that. Thank you very much for attending, and send us through any queries to StoreConnect and Pendula. And thank you very much. And we'll make this webinar available for on-demand replay afterwards.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Virginia, Alex, and Chris. It's been a pleasure. And thank you to all the attendees. It's been great talking to you and great questions.